So we win.
Doesn't it
Rob.
broaden-
Hold it, his hand was up. I'm going to go to him first, then you.
So in regards to power, I just want to put this out here, and I'll be more than willing to explain if somebody wants more information. But in terms of power, I just want to say that I've witnessed that vulnerability is one of the most powerful things. Pure vulnerability is one of the most powerful things I've ever encountered. And we'd love to elaborate on that at some point. Rather than being defensive or being not saying what you truly feel and expressing who you truly are.
Little louder.
Okay, so I just want to mention that in regards to power. And then the other thing is, so we have these, right now we have a list of 4 things: sustainability, happiness, justice, and nonviolence. And I would love, I think, if we could expand on what that is.
What those are, what
Some
they mean.
other words that go like sustainability, like what does that mean? Permaculture, more local, all those things, and really have a list of what each one of those, what we feel represent that, see where we have a consensus, and then maybe we can say, this is what we came up with. Are these in agreement with these? Do you have anything to add to the list, or is there anything you disagree with, and kind of take a consensus, even amongst people we know or people that come in?
I can throw out words associated with those things, but I don't want to get so far that you lose your thought.
Yeah, I don't even think I would want to do that in this kind of a meeting, because what you're trying to do is be more specific about the mission. And what I would worry about what I would worry about is that we would exclude people. I mean, people kind of know what sustainability is, and it's a very broad category. Let me just finish. I want it to be broad. I don't want to use words where people would go, oh, they're just about permaculture.
Yeah, I understand what you mean by that, but what I'm saying is that to actually have an action plan where we actually get our hands dirty, if you will. In other words, we can go out and protest and voice our things and rant and rave, but we're not going to. It's when we actually take action to make a difference,
Right.
And what those actions involve.
I see.
So that's what I'm saying is what is moving towards what specific actions at
Right.
a community level where there's a large consensus for participation.
Exactly. That's exactly what would happen in this situation. We would sit here, hopefully next month we'll have more reps. I mean, Nick Licata almost came. He wrote me a very nice letter. Nick, you know who Nick Licata is? He just retired off of being on the city council. He's besides Shama Shawant, he's the most progressive guy who's been on the city council. When we start having people like Shama and Nick in this room having these discussions, that's exactly what we're going to discuss. What are the next 3 projects that we should do together, and how do we get a critical mass to do them? Whether it's in sustainability and permaculture or anti-war or pro-Bernie or whatever it is. Okay, I'm sorry, do you want to respond to that, or just kind of go to her?
Just real quick, something like sustainability is as broad as life, the right to life. That's the goal, is that each of these are the big picture, we can continue on. We're not going to be killing each other, the planet, or etc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get that.
So,
I mean, and people live and die, and life and death is a part of life, and sometimes we can't ignore the fact.
Sure.
That, we can't save everybody, and maybe it's not.
Yeah, no. I mean,
So
there's
that's
a
not what I meant.
natural cycle of things.
It has to do with
but
quality of life too, sustainable quality of life, and
happiness and justice.
Yeah, for all, right?
Right, but what you were saying is you would like some specificity in terms of
Yeah, and
what
in
we
other words,
propose.
so let's say we're focusing on Seattle. I mean, maybe that's the thing, and then maybe we can create a template that other people can adapt to their own
Exactly.
city. So let's say Seattle. Well, I mean, we know that permaculture is a pretty popular concept throughout Seattle, especially in in this community of probably 1,000 at least people that I know of immediately, and it's probably bigger than that. That there's probably a lot of other very common things that we agree upon.
Right.
There are some differences. Some are omnivores, some are vegans.
Sure.
That's but that's another thing. But I think a lot of people really like permaculture, sustainable, local. I think there's a large consensus in Seattle for that. And so I'm thinking the more of those terms that we have a consensus with, the more we can create a project that
Yes.
is
And
comprehensive and
inviting.
and inviting, and
Yeah.
that where we can get participation, enthusiastic participation.
So just so you know, that's where this meeting is going. I want to do a brainstorm of the kind of projects that we think, I mean, obviously we're not representative, none of us will probably sit here by hundreds of people. But if we could start brainstorming the kinds of projects that we could do together in Seattle as a nonviolent left, that's what's going to start attracting people. So the what attracts the numbers that we need, okay? And then what we're doing is this is how we do it. There's a different way of doing things. It's like by consensus rather than, I've got an idea, I want a permaculture project, you come to my project. This is like, let's all get together and decide to do everybody's projects in some logical order. Which is a different way of doing things, but I think it's the more logical, more village, more organic, more paleo way of doing things. I'm sorry, I want to really go to what you wanted to say a long time ago.
Well, I don't remember what I wanted to say a
Oh,
long
good.
time ago, but I have a lot of ideas about what's important to me, and then we can weigh them all, like we can do with permaculture and vulnerability.
So
For
are we ready to
example-
start with that? I think we are. Why don't we just start brainstorming different projects?
For example,
Mhm.
how do we get rid of plastics? Completely get rid of them. Change it from massive destruction of the environment to creating products that are biodegradable and they still work.
Mhm.
That is so important to me. It's huge. Another one, and this is not going to be something you guys are going to like really light up to, and I understand that, but I'm female, so here it is. It is not good for any of us to be taking birth control pills, and they are causers of cancers. They are polluting our waterways in such a fashion as to change fish that are essentially male into females,
Yep.
and then causing cancer as they go down the stream.
So,
And my one of the items there would be find a way to have birth control and control population, because those are very tightly related with sustainability. Don't be messing up the planet.
so just to clarify, so birth control is one drug that people are taking that is somehow getting back into the system and causing havoc. Do we want to go to a bigger, just like all manufactured? Like, I mean, plastics is another thing. It's one manufactured thing that then goes out into the system and is causing havoc, on certain
Right.
things. Population control feels a little bit separate from. I mean, they're intertwined, but they're all leading towards sustainability.
Are you clarifying or qualifying?
I'm trying to figure out what to write down here, and if we want to write something down that's more inclusive, or if you want me to write down birth control, removal of birth control the same way we have to get rid of plastics, get rid of birth control.
Alternative birth control that's sustainable.
Sustainable alternative
Okay.
birth control.
Sustainable, yeah.
And I mean, tubal ligations are right there in the forefront, because that stops the population problem. At the same time, we're not putting out poisons, toxins into the environment. If you want us all to be female, go for it. But
I don't think that'll end well.
kind of like men, and I like women too. Another on that checklist is going to be this. I want to turn it the other way around. I don't want to have such a strong sense that we're stuck. The system is so rigged that we can't do a dang thing about it. I would like to have a sensibility, a way to figure out if what we're after is actually it's being acted upon. We're not just sitting ducks and they're going, oh, everything's gonna be fine.
So-
It's okay, honey. It's okay. Tomorrow, you know, you won't have to worry about it. You might be dead by then. I don't want to hear all the excuses. I just want to hear, you know, X number of the population has really heard you, and we're all working toward it. I like to get that feeling.
So I heard stuck, and we don't want to be stuck. Like in software development, there's the notion of rapid iteration, which is like you try something and then you tweak it, you try it again, and you're measuring it, and you're going, and it's not this like, oh, it's very slow change, and most of these things are in place, and it's hard to adjust. I'm not sure what
De-rig the system.
derig the system. Okay.
So you don't want us to be stuck by derigging the system? Is that what you're saying?
I don't want to have this sensibility at all times that it doesn't matter what you do, ha ha. There's going to be somebody in a powerful position with money who's just going to nix you. I mean, like the Koch brothers or Donald Trump.
I think that my feeling is that we create another system that supersedes that system, and that they would like us to believe that there's nothing we can do about it, but that's not true. There are a small percentage. The people who are actually implementing this thing. It's like they're like the little domino. I don't know if you've seen that thing, and we're like the big domino. But the big domino, if the big domino falls, the little domino gets crushed. You know what I'm saying? But in other words, you could have a little domino on the other side, and it goes the other way. So, that's how I feel. I do think it's rigged, but I don't think it's impossible, because when I've seen what's happening with Bernie, and the kind of support he has, and he speaks about we the people, and he speaks
Still
about
didn't win.
yeah, but
When you say
he won the hearts of, I think, a large percentage of Americans, a larger percentage than either Hillary or
And he
Trump.
changed some of the pieces, like the superdelegate piece, in several states now.
But-
And that's definitely de-rigging the system. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Those little pieces that show us, oh,
And
guess
that-
what?
Then when I spoke about consumerism, it's like when we start feeding the beast until they choose to base it not on profits for the shareholders, but on the well-being of the people and the planet, then when that is what true wealth is, when people begin to realize that in their hearts, and that's hard to let people, because there's money is creating a false sense of security, because you can't take it with you, and it doesn't really always make people happy.
So let me just ask you to be more specific, because de-rig the system is not like a project that I can get my weak little brain around. What specifically would we
What is your
do?
name again?
Rob,
Rob just kind of put it in a nutshell, I think.
you said profit over.
No,
People over
his
profit.
point was that I'm trying to pick out here is have a way to weigh that you're actually having a change come about.
Measurement of progress.
Yes,
Well, measurement is a means. We should
Measurement
put
is
that up
good.
there. We need to measure everything that we do. That's a great word. Because if you don't measure, how do you know if you're succeeding? So you have to put measurement into a proposal so you know when it's working and when it's not, and when you need to change it, because your proposal isn't good.
but I do want to say there is an element of critical mass. So, sometimes a field something has to be potentiated, and at that point a catalyst can make a rapid change. I think it even happens on an evolutionary scale, that something catalytic can, in a potentiated field, can create, I won't say maybe conceivably instantaneous change, but very rapid
it's
change.
a tipping point.
Yes,
And it
exactly.
might
Tipping
be
point,
good
critical
to know
mass,
what the
100
tipping
rookie.
point would be. That would be under de-rigging that system.
So measurement's good, but it's not always an easy thing to measure
True.
quantitatively, but you may feel it qualitatively.
I have a question about process. So, are we
Uh-huh.
trying to get proposals and ideas out here? Because, like, I mean, we're discussing, trying to clarify and understand, but it feels like we're spending a lot of time on each of these things, going into more detail. I
That's
don't
true.
know.
It might be good to get a good long list that might attract like almost everybody from the nonviolent left in Seattle to the next meeting.
And
And
population control.
The three of us haven't contributed yet as well. I just want to mention that. So,
Oh, that's true.
So I don't
Just
know.
add one more, population
Sure.
control for me.
Sustainable birth
And then I'll
control.
let go.
Then you-
Sustainable birth control.
We'll come back
And I
around.
feel like I was too bulldogish.
Oh no!
No.
I'm wondering if
That's a good point.
Sustainable birth control is population.
No.
No, population.
No, I mean for real, looking at the whole planet and being sustainable about the fact that we are taking up too much space. There's no more space for elephants and giraffes, and we're killing off wolves.
Let me just let you know that one of the aspects of consent is we don't make decisions for people who without their consent. So how could that be applied for Seattle? Like, I don't think that we as a group, even if we had the whole nonviolent left here, I don't think we'd be deciding what Africans should do without consulting with them. So
Well, we're gonna have to talk about our population.
okay,
You
so
know, and then if it went all over the world, well, great, but we
So
have
what could
to
we do
start
here?
Well,
what could
so-
we do here for population control?
So you're asking details of how to achieve population control?
In Seattle, I want her to focus, like, if that's important for Seattle.
Open the conversation
Mhm.
about, do you really want to have a baby? Are you having a baby because that's what people do? Or do you have, the capacity, like to not just grow a child, but have a good hospital birth or a midwife birth? Do you have a great unit that
Okay.
will raise a child that will be a great person in this population?
Okay.
Or are you just having that baby because, that's what mom did and that's what dad wants? My folks are asking me to have
Okay.
babies.
That's good. I think that's clear.
I like, so on the population control, how we can do it here in Seattle, coming from, again, the left for justice, ensuring that parents serve the court time with the child that breaks the law. As we slaughtered the parents of Afghanistan by not only cutting Afghanistan, we cut Iraq and we cut into Syria pretty heavily. I mean, we got in there and we messed it up, and we took out some of the parents of a misbehaving child. Well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Here in America, why, for justice, can there not be in this respect, responsibility to the parent for the child and pushing that provocation, promoting that.
So give me an example. I'm not sure it's clear.
12-year-old kid goes out, busts window,
Uh-huh.
comes back home, and then at 14 goes and robs a store. At 16 goes and rapes a woman. And the parent has to be accountable for that child because they're not an adult. So if that child committed those crimes, the parent has to go into the court system as well.
So parent accountability for criminality in children?
Yeah.
I
What's
like,
the proposal?
I like the word accountability. Part of me wants to say that the system, in addition to the parent and the schooling and everything, is accountable. But yeah, starting with the parents sounds good. Parent accountability.
Yeah.
Parents accountable for child crime.
So just to be super clear to the listening audience, we're not going to try to come to consent on these. We're going to we're going to throw them out there. These are things that will be discussed, and these are the kind of barns that eventually we would try to get on top of, try to build.
Yeah.
So often, it is the child whose parents do the same things, like the monkey see, monkey do thing. That how do you get a parent who is as delinquent as the child to be accountable for the child? I'm hearing you, but how do you do that?
Right. We would have to get into the specifics of that proposal, but let's brainstorm some more proposals before we like. Let's see if we can come up with most of the kinds of proposals, or a good sampling of the kind of proposals that we would probably be working on in the next year in Seattle.
Transportation reform.
Cool. Transportation.
What is your,
But more public transportation, better infrastructure for bicyclists and smaller vehicles. You know, I mean, I'm getting a little car is kind of scary, you know, and there's all kinds of vehicles in other worlds. You know, obviously alternative fuels, more encouragement for using alternative, even walking. You know, a little more, all those things. I mean, one thing I think I've noticed in Seattle more than any other place I've lived, there's a little more leniency about, in a lot of, not all businesses, about like if you're 5 minutes late because you missed the bus. Like where I lived, there was no excuse. If you're 5 minutes late 2 weeks in a row, forget it, you're out, you know? I don't know what it's like here, but places I have worked, it did seem like it was a little more relaxed in that regard.
Cool.
So there's a lot of factors that go into that, but yeah, to somehow facilitate better transportation options
Good.
and also more local, how to be more local. You don't have to go so far to have a fulfilling life. I mean,
To have
be
what?
closer to home more of the week and still have a really well-balanced, fulfilling life.
So be specific about what we would want to change.
Well, for example, we all drove here from different parts of the city. Now imagine if we all lived in the same neighborhood and there's other neighborhoods just like us and we're having this talks about what needs to happen in our neighborhood instead of, you know, I mean, obviously, so that's a much more local thing. Maybe we're all growing.
So localization.
Yeah, we're growing our own food, and maybe we can share trips to the grocery market, you know, and we also are sharing food that we're growing in our yard. So we're participating in growing food in other people's yards.
So, I'm curious, like, are we, like, we're coming up with these proposals, but are we leaning